Hey, I'm Matt Trouville, and this is Rugby Wrap-Up.
Next on Rugby Wrap-Up, Major League Rugby highlights, opinion, and analysis with Bryan Ray, Matt Trouville, and Matt McCarthy. Plus, did Dan Power get Wally pipped? Rugby Wrap-Up brought to you in part by Sheehy Auto Stores. It's easy at Sheehy. The Pig and Whistle, the world's best rugby pub. And Lean and Limber, stretching your way to a healthier lifestyle. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rugby Wrap-Up. Matt McCarthy in New York City, Bryan Ray in Halifax, Nova Scotia, or Nova Scotia, Halifax. Not sure how that goes. And then we have the new Dan Power, Matt Trouville, our resident Australian, because we have the Aussie quota to fulfill, as we have the Canadian quota to fulfill here on Rugby Wrap-Up. Matthew, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, and just let you know that the homeland is very appreciative of you continuing this quota. So thank you, and thanks for having me. But there's no Dan Power apart from Dan Power.
No, there is no gorgeous Dan, dangerous Dan, dashing Dan. They're all any Dan you can, any God Dan thing you can think of is Dan Power, right? Well, let's get to our Major League Rugby action. Bryan, it was an exciting week of rugby, and I want you to tell us a little bit about what you thought about some of the matches, including the first one, the Seattle Thursday night special that Matt was on the sidelines. We'll get the real skinny from him. But what was your take up in the igloo?
I thought it was an entertaining game all around. You know, Seattle's starting to make a believer out of me. After 2 games, they look pretty good. That back line with Tavita Lopetti was absolutely outstanding in that game. Martin Yosefo as well. He scored a fantastic team try, that counterattack that ended up with Nakai Penny. Little Canadian shed out there. And, you know, Utah weren't out of this. They were in this, and they just left themselves a little bit too much to do at the end, trying to come back, scored those 2 late tries, picked up another bonus point. And, you know, maybe they feel a little bit aggrieved at that whole scrum situation. I mean, they were absolutely dominant in that scrum, and to go to uncontested is really disappointing for them. And I don't think Seattle had 8 players in those scrums either, which they're supposed to do in those uncontested scrums. So a bit of a mess up there, but you know, I guess we just gotta move on with it. But this was an entertaining game. I like this game.
Matt, folks at home are going to just be stunned by your good looks and doubt every minute of me saying this, but you played in the pack, right? So you know a little bit about scrummaging.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I wasn't at the front, right? I wasn't in the dark arts, but I heard some things.
Still got the modeling career, but what was your take on the sideline? How worried should Utah be, or is it just a matter of time before they start clicking?
Yeah, no, I don't think Utah should be worried at all. I mean, they've got, like you saw, the scrum was dominant. They can score from anywhere at any time. You can't relax, you know, the whole time. Now, they went up against the Seattle defense, which is just unbelievable. You've got Rickard Hadding, Ben Landry, Brad Tucker was out this game, but Victor Comtat was putting on shots. Like, their back row, second row, they get through so much work. And you could see it about 60 minutes in the game. They were just starting to okay, we've had 2 games in 5 days. Now we're starting to really get gas, but they held in there.
So who was more excited, Tony Ridnell, CJ Rucky, or Broccoli guy?
I don't know, the Broccoli guy, they've got him in the corner now by himself so they can film him. The poor bloke has to sit down in the dark, you know, until they come over to him, and he's just dancing by himself on the sideline. Get him back in the stands with the people. That's what the people want.
Nobody puts Broccoli guy in the corner. Nobody.
Well, can I just talk about the Broccoli really quick? Sorry, Matt, to go off topic here.
Yeah.
No one's talking about...
We'll just edit this out. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. No one's talking about he's eating room temperature broccoli. And it's been cold, so I get it. It's still fresh. But during the summer sevens, he's just hooking into hot broccoli. What, you know... No one's talking
That's
about
dedication.
This.
That's dedication and insanity. Yeah, we're all insane, Broccoli guy. I'm not trying to insult you there. And Brian Chirana at home in BC, British Columbia for the folks at home, not before Christ. And it was Los Angeles, 31-16, and that's why you are sitting in front of the Coliseum right now.
LA is such a good side. They got depth throughout the team, you know, and it was almost like they realized that, hey, guys, we're losing this one. We lost the first week. We can't lose two in a row. We're the champions. and they completely shut down the Arrows in the second half. Arrows just kind of faded, and maybe they've overrated their depth or something. I don't know. They just that's 2 games in a row they haven't scored a single point in the second half, so that's concerning from an Arrows perspective. But LA looking a little bit more like the team that we saw last year.
Toronto got beat up by Seattle round 1. That was a brutal physical match. They finally get a game in Canada after 1,000 days, something like that, something crazy. And it's not even in Toronto. Right. You got to give them credit. They are trying to spread the game across Canada by taking that one, on the other side of the country. But to play the Giltinis a week after a loss, that's, you're sort of running into a buzzsaw there a little bit. They got too many good players to not come and produce a result. Not surprised that Toronto, they are a tough bunch. They spent a year away from home. They finally go home and they're not home. You know what I mean?
Right. So they're calling it a home game, but it's not a home game.
No.
Now they're back on the road, so,
yeah.
But that we'll get to. But the next one up, San Diego was stunned for 60 minutes of this match, absolutely floored by the Dallas Jackals. Final score 37-29, but really this one, Brian, was, as Steve Lewis always says, squeaky bum time for San Diego Legion fans.
This was an awful, awful game of rugby. I don't care what the score says. I don't care what the difference was. I don't care that everybody's happy that Dallas was, competitive in this one. The standard of rugby was poor. So many mistakes in front of the ground. This was just a mess of a rugby game. I did not enjoy this at all for any part of it.
What a cranky Canadian.
That's it.
I think this is just so Dallas being a new team, right? You can't expect a great deal out of them until like the second half of the season, right? Because they got to get used to the whole thing. We went through it with Houston. It was tough. That first year it's hard to get used to that sort of life. And
that was all your fault. You were the captain.
Yeah. Well, actually, Carl Sundstrom was year 1, but whatever. Thanks for paying attention. I think Dallas, like Brian said, are going to be competitive, but it's going to be hard for them to get over the edge until the second half of the season when they start sort of figuring out who they are. It's all thrown together, a new team. So playing against San Diego, who fought for a title, have been together for a while now. It's hard to compete against teams like that.
The one thing about it, though, is Dallas is in a state of chaos, pretty much. You would think, because of the head coach situation, and it's coached by committee, which is by Elaine Vassie. I think I'm saying her name correctly. And she is the GM / head of the coaching collective staff, if you will. And for that, and going on the road, they put on a lot of points. They put up an exciting game, I thought, Brian. So I don't agree with you, but what the hell do I know? But the one thing that we saw was the number 1 draft choice in Eric Naposki, showing some serious skills. Petrie's sitting next to me in the booth, and he's like, he's got to kick that ball. What's he doing? And all of a sudden, bam, he's bolting up the field, getting it into Aaron Gray's hands, another American kid. And then Rura, who's the first one to touch the ball in that sequence, ends up scoring the try at the end. So they've got no quit in them, and nobody told them that they're supposed to stay. Houston 7, New York 10.
But what a return for Sam Windsor to go back down there and play the SaberCats after his exit and scrape up the win 10-7. That would have felt very good.
Except for the kicks that were getting blown back in his face all the time, right? He's the leading scorer in Major League history, and you're like looking at it look like me or Jerry Lewis making the kicks.
The wind's bad in a professional rugby environment when someone has to hold the ball for you.
Yeah.
That reminds me down in the 10s.
Yeah.
It is literally, you can't do much against that wind when it's up.
Yeah, I think New York got lucky, frankly. Pago Heine should have been yellow carded right before halftime for a blatant hands in, side entry, whatever you want to call it, at the ruck. I don't know how the official, and they even went to the TMO and they still missed it. Absurd.
What about the headbutts that were being thrown by the SaberCats, Ray?
I mean, Ed Fido attempting the headbutt on Harry Labuschagne.
Holy.
One-eyed New Yorker over here.
Oh,
hey,
God.
credit to New York. They pulled it out. They got sucked into an arm wrestle, and somehow, if they had to throw the, I mean, I guess the wind has something to do with it. They couldn't move it around as much.
It was insane.
But they played exactly the game that Houston wanted them to play. And there's that. Again, there's Houston's out there, 15 minutes to play. They got the scrum sequence going, and because of these new stupid scrum laws that MLR keeps using, they couldn't call another scrum. So that's another opportunity last. And then Labuschagne misses a tackle on Fido, who is a unit, by the way, on the wing. I wouldn't, want to be tackling that guy anyways. But
he smiles as he's running into contact. He does.
That's a different kind of guy. That's a different kind of person. That's like a UFC fighter.
Yeah, exactly. And just want to give a salute to Connor Buckley, who made his Major League Rugby debut as a starting scrum half for New York. He injured his head. He got a little bit of a head knock. Hope he's okay, but a pretty solid day of work for him at the office. All right, the next one up, Atlanta and New Orleans at the gold mine.
Their defense in this game was suffocating. They completely, Nola had nowhere to go in this one. Now, they got to work on their ruck speed a bit. It's just a little bit too slow when you're up against a defense that fast. You've got to be quick, and they just weren't quick enough. But you got to give credit to ATL. They just completely took them out. How much ball did – I mean, you look at this score. You're saying that everybody's looking at the other score, the San Diego score. Lots of points scored, exciting game. To me, this is far more exciting. Way less points scored, but there was more ball in play. It was just a better game, a better standard of rugby. That's all I'm asking for. I thought this was a very good competitive game. NOLA were still in it in the end, but ATL, just like Seattle, are making believers out of me. I kind of maybe, undervalued them a lot. They look like the best team in the East right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's two good teams going head to head, and they both got pretty good defenses. But you notice, I'm not sure if you did, but in that game, there was a lot of push passes at the end of long phases, like in the 22, in the 10. The coaches would have been going berserk up there, throwing bottles and flipping tables and all sorts of things, because there's some crucial errors right near the goal line for both teams. But you're right, two good teams battling it out. The try to win it for Atlanta was a crazy one. It was like a kick, like a hack at a kick, it bounced in the guy's chest, and he walks in 5 meters and puts it on the post. You don't get an easy one than that. And it was a good contest. So I agree.
The next one up was Austin hosting Old Glory.
So it was a tough day at the office, and whenever you get 50 points put on you, that's rough. But I will say, look at LA last year. They had this fancy training camp in Hawaii, for a month. This year, Austin Gilgronis had a training camp for however long it was. They started training in November. They already look like they're in mid-season form because they're 2 months to 3 months ahead of everyone else. They've been training together for so long. It's tough to compete against that. I mean, some teams are still waiting for players to fly in, to get their first handshake. So,
and when they do, their arms are going to be really tired.
Whoa, well played.
I'm here all weekend.
Yeah, be sure to tip your waitress. Austin are going to roll until the others catch up and they gel together and they're able to sort of, it takes 3-4 weeks for teams to really find out how they play, who they are, their depth, all that sort of stuff. So I think Austin's going to roll until others step up.
There is a few bodies to come in still for Old Glory, so hopefully they'll get a little bit better. So obviously, the coach, Andrew Douglas, wouldn't be entirely pleased with that either. But yeah, I mean, to Matt's point, Austin just looks so good, completely drilled. I was not really expecting them to be that good this fast. They just look so,
backline
they're
is
in tune. I mean, Brocky's making a break. He's got guys left, right, behind, and all over the place. Options everywhere. So they're just going to take some stopping. That's a very good team we're watching right now.
And on that, we'll leave a cliffhanger as we go into commercial break. We'll be right back with, I think it's not Dan Power. I think it's Matt Trouville. And I know that's Bryan Ray. We'll be right back.
Selling or trading in your vehicle? She makes it easy. With Easy Trade, start online or visit us in store. We want your vehicle, and we'll give you up to 125% of KBB value.
It's easy at she.com.
Been blind since I was 4, and I've never seen a beer commercial or a beer label. None of that stuff influences me. I drink beer because of the taste, and my beer's Pabst Blue Ribbon. It has the taste and the flavor.
What do you think's on the label?
I think there's a naked woman riding on a unicorn, jumping over fire. Oh, that's good beer.
If you're in New York City and want to watch some great rugby, have some great food, and some great times, go to the world's best rugby pub, the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street.
Hey, McCarthy, this should not be here. This personal bag does not belong in this team bag stuff, okay?
Well, then bring it over there.
Where do we put
Give you
it?
a smack.
Huh?
Bring it over there.
And we're back. Matt McCarthy and Bryan Ray and Matt Trouville talking Major League Rugby. Guys, we had a big week in the rearview mirror. Now we've got one ahead of us, and it starts with Old Glory having their home opener against the other red, white, and blue team. This is the Patriot Bowl with the New England Free Jacks coming in. Bryan, as a Canadian that looks down upon us with condescending eyes, what do you think of this match?
True story. New England has all their imports in now. So the guys who missed the first couple weeks are now arrived. So you're going to see a couple new names coming in. Just, there's just one or two of them who have injuries. Boyle and Pretty, I think, are still injured. But they're going to have a couple extra bodies out there. They've had a week off to rest, to prepare for this one. And Old Glory coming off that, really tough loss. I don't know if their guys have come in yet. So even though they're at home, I got to go with the Free Jacks in this one.
The New England Free Jacks, I think, will take this one. Brian summed it up perfectly. They got troops rolling in. DC struggling after last week's loss. It's going to be tough. It'll be a tough battle for them, I think.
I think Old Glory, they might be able to get something here. I don't know. Maybe get close or win. They got the home cooking. They got Segra Field. I got a car from Old Glory. I mean, I'm all over it. I love these guys. So that's what I'm saying. The next one up, we've got Atlanta and New York. This is a rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals last year, the championship in the Eastern Conference, Bryan.
We still got more to find out about this New York team. And like I said, ATL looks more connected than maybe we anticipated. Dan and I probably get a little bit of egg in our face for shortchanging them in our preseason predictions. So I love the way they're playing right now. Really hard defense. We'll see with the weather. If it's not as windy, maybe New York can throw it around a bit and use that stellar back line. They've got a little bit more than they did. So a really intriguing battle. I'm going to go with ATL in a close one at home.
I think it's going to be close too. These are two very strong defensive teams. I'd be shooting up on Fadeau on the outside there. I wouldn't be letting him get any steam. I mean, the two tries he scored, he only had about half a meter from the touchline. He still got around bloke. So I'd be getting up trying to cut off that attack. But we don't know enough about New York. They played the Hurricanes. Right. They were tough. They were gritty. They did what they had to do. So I'm going to go New York in a close one.
All right, moving right along, we've got Dallas welcoming in Houston. Is this going to be a howling good time for the Jackals fans?
Yeah, you know what? I think it will be. They got to celebrate rugby being there. Honestly, the pitch looks fantastic. It's really nice shape there. I was a little bit weirded out when they said they were going to that big, huge stadium, but it looks great. I think it's going to look good on TV. I think, that game against San Diego was good for Dallas and that they were competitive. They got some points in them. That'll give them some confidence heading into this one. Houston doesn't look like a team who's going to be throwing in 50, 60 points like Austin offense is. So I'm picking Houston to win this one, but I think it'll be a lot closer than we've seen.
I don't think Dallas is going to run away like they did against San Diego and get up early. I think they're going to have to grind back if they're going to do it. But I don't think they're going to get past Houston. The defense is good. They've got some exciting backs, but they couldn't utilize the ball last week. They couldn't move it. They couldn't do anything. There was a lot, from all reports, happening off the ball last week. So they got sort of frustrated out of the game, if you will. I don't think it's going to be the same against Dallas. So I think Houston wins this one. But I am so excited to see the Dallas Stadium. I'm so glad they're in the competition. I think it's just good for everything. So hoping it's close.
The next one up, you've got Austin welcoming in Utah. Are the Warriors going to be 0-3, Bryan Ray?
I was just going to say that they don't look like an 0-3 team, do they? But Austin is the hot ticket in MLR right now, so you can't really see them losing at home. So, I don't want to pick against Utah. They've been playing, reasonably well, but that Austin team is just on fire. So I just can't see it. I just can't see how Utah can pick it up. And, again, they got probably a couple other bodies that they'd like to head back to. We'll see if Jamie Lane, I think they really missed him in the line out against Seattle. If he's back, that helps. But I just see too many weapons in that Austin team. So you got to go with them at home.
Utah are one of the scariest teams in the league every year because what they can do against anyone. So, yes, the lineout was a complete struggle against Seattle. They couldn't get any good platform to attack off. And in the first 20 minutes and then coming out in the second half, that first 20 minutes, Seattle just sort of weathered the storm, held on, good defense, and eventually then got on top. So if Austin can do that against Utah, they'll look good, but I'm not counting Utah out ever. I mean, I've just played them too many times, and you just can never switch off, and that's very stressful for 80 minutes. So this one might be a sneaky upset, but I don't know if I'm confident enough to say it out loud yet.
I think Utah has to win this match. I really do. And I think they will. I think they might.
Yeah, they might, because, Matt, they were burning after the Seattle loss. I mean, they were fuming. There's a couple of calls that even Sean said at the halftime grab when I was speaking to him, held his tongue a little bit, which was nice for the camera. But they were upset about that loss. They knew they could have had it. They were coming back at the end there. So that can be very motivating. And, Sean's a great coach. He'll have them ready to go. So, and it wouldn't surprise anyone in the world if Utah came in and caused a big upset, right?
But Brian, speaking of 0-3 teams, we've got NOLA hosting Toronto. And if they don't tie, one of these teams is going home 0-3.
Toronto's not an 0-3 team to me. I for 40 minutes, they had it together against LA. I mean, they ran into some problems. They were a little bit tired, an extra day's rest. LA had that one too, is a little bit of a factor, but I'm confident Sam Malcolm's going to show up for this one. NOLA at home, they've lost 2 in a row at home. NOLA's got to play a little bit better than they are. They just weren't convincing enough against ATL to me. So I think there's going to be a really close game. I'll say that, but I think the Arrows have enough in this one to come away with a narrow win.
I think NOLA winning this one. Is this the Owen Bowl, right? Like someone's got to win here and get out of this hole. So I'm going to just.
Or they can tie.
Mathematically, you're correct, I believe, but I just don't think that'll work.
Yeah.
I just see NOLA getting on the top there. I think it was such a frustrating game last week for them against Atlanta. I think if they just score one try, they'll start pouring it on. And poor Toronto. I mean, you can't say enough. They've just been dragged around town playing wherever they can. They need to get back home to Toronto, play a couple of games in a row before they get back to winning form, in my opinion. But anyway,
all right, well,
sorry, Brian.
I'm going to be crazy here. I'm going to pick Toronto, just not this week. So I'm going to pick NOLA at home, and I feel for the Toronto Arrows. In all seriousness, I think they're going to be okay once they get everybody back. But we've got such a competitive league now that these slow starts or these staggered starts are going to hinder you at the end of the season. But there's still time. There's still hope. And with that, we have our last match, because I know people are hoping the show will end soon. We have San Diego hosting Seattle. Seattle has a lot to prove because they've won at home in squeakers.
I've been impressed with Seattle. I agree, this is a test for Seattle. Can they win on the road? I think they can against a battered and bruised San Diego. But who knows? There's still a few reinforcements to come in for San Diego. Maybe they're in this week. I don't know. So really, this is kind of a crapshoot to me, but I'm going to pick Seattle.
Adrian Balfour, this one's for you. I think Seattle steals this one.
The scary part for Seattle is the props, the front row. They're hurting there. You saw that last game with the whole 13 men on the field thing. They got a couple of injuries, things like that. So we'll see how they patch that problem up. But then, like you said, San Diego, it could be the college team from down the street turn up, you know what I mean, with the amount of injuries they've had and the amount of stars that are injured. So, yeah, I'll go Seattle because I better, I guess.
On that note, guys, I can guarantee this. I guarantee you LA will not win this weekend. I promise you.
Bold.
Right?
Bold prediction.
Right. All right. Final thoughts, Brian.
Hey, I'm looking forward to a better weekend of Major League. With each week, everything gets a little bit better with the one exception last week. So I'm looking for good rugby across the board this week.
Matthew?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Matt. I think it's great that you started this show. It's the first one I've seen. It's tremendous. So thank you very much for having me, and all the best in the future.
To thank you, Matthew Trouville, kid, I love you. Brian, I love you. And thank you, folks, for tuning in. Please check out our other segments, including our college rugby wrap-up, our Major League Rugby betting show, The Rugby Odds. And please, please, please sign up for our American Red Cross Blood Donor Team.